Are you working with independent contractors? And if so, are you having issues with either terminating that contract or the contractor terminating it with you? In today's video, we're going to be talking about the independent contractor agreement that you have with your contractors and what that means in terms of getting rid of them or them getting rid of you. So stick around. Hey out there, welcome back to Wedding Industry Law. My name is Rob. I am an attorney representing wedding industry professionals, and you have stumbled upon the least popular YouTube channel dedicated to wedding industry law. So happy to have you here. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the relationship between the wedding business professional, the owner of that business, and the independent contractor. And don't be confused, I am not in my normal quote-unquote studio. I'm on the road. I'm at a convention in Texas, so I'm doing this on the fly, guerrilla style in my hotel room. So we'll be back to normal things next week. So just a couple of caveats before I kind of get into it. The first thing is this. What I'm talking about in today's video is if you are a planner and you are using independent contractors that would also be doing coordinating or perhaps some of the work with the planning work with the client. If you're a DJ and you have a large business and you hire contractors to go out and DJ the business, or if you're a photographer, you hire assistant photographers, this type of thing, where they have skin in the game with you on events. Okay, I'm not talking about when you hire somebody to do your website or something like that. I'm talking about straight up you're using them on an event-to-event basis, okay? And for the sake of this video, we are assuming that they are, in fact, by operation of law, an independent contractor, okay? So just assume that there's no issue with they're an employee or there's AB5, any of that bull crap. Just straight up, all the assumptions that we're making in this video is that it's an independent contractor and they work on an event-to-event basis with you, where you tell them, hey, I've got some events coming up. Can you work these? And they say yes or no. Okay. And then they work at that event in some capacity. So those are the caveats. This is the hypothetical that we're talking about. Okay. So put everything else in your mind out, unless you're driving or something. Concentrate on driving, but think about this too. All right. So the first thing is, and this is obvious, and this is something that I talked about a couple of videos ago with the 4 or 5 things you need in an independent contractor agreement. And that's just, you need to have an independent contractor agreement, a written document that goes over what the obligations of you and that independent contractor are. So everything from how much they're going to get paid from gig to gig, limited liability, where they have to have insurance, all the standard things that would govern the relationship between you and that contractor over a certain amount of time. Because technically, you don't have to have your independent contractor sign an agreement for every single event they're going to do. How it typically works is that there's one written agreement between you and the contractor that will spell out how you interact with one another forever. And typically that is going to be for durations of time. So however many gigs that is within the year, that's what's going to happen, right? So that's typically how it works. So the meat and potatoes of this video is within that contract that you have with your contractor, okay, from event to event, is what happens when the contractor says, yes, I'll be at the event on December 30th or November 1st or whatever it is, November 5th. And then they want to quit before that, or I don't DJ anymore. Whatever it is, and maybe you're in a lurch. Maybe this is the day before, maybe this is the week before, and it might be difficult to get somebody else at a comparable price to fill in that role. So the issue here is, what are some of the ramifications for that? So, and how do we avoid that essentially? So in the contract, you can say something along the lines of the contractor can pull out of the agreement. Okay, can terminate the agreement. And this is all factual. You can do whatever you want. I'm just saying what's typical is that the contractor will be able to pull out of the agreement. In other words, I'm done with you. I'm not working with you anymore at any point in time. with the exception of there has already been confirmed gigs that the contractor has agreed to do. Then you it kind of trees off or wise off. There's a cross section of, okay, well, if there's no gigs that we're worried about, then you can get rid of the contract and you can go your separate ways. If there is a confirmed event that they have agreed to do, then there would be some type of ramification. So whether it be liquidated damages or they simply cannot without breaching the contract, that is something that needs to be spelled out. Too many times in independent contractor agreements where there is the idea that they're going to be doing something from event to event, or there's a series of things they got to be doing. If they leave, that's like an employee leaving. It's going to really hurt you bad. So you have to spell out in your contract with your independent contractor what happens if there are anticipated events in the future and they want to get out. Do they have to pay some type of penalty? Is it just breach of contract? Do they need to find somebody else? That needs to be spelled out. And so along those lines, it should be the same thing in reverse. So we've all had the situation where a client on their own has canceled, the client, like not the person being married, has canceled on you, and therefore you have to cancel on the independent contractor. So in the vice versa of that, you want to in your contract to deal with that as well. So you can say, look, if the contract is canceled because the client has canceled, then you get a 20% liquidated damages for that. Like, so if you're going to pay the contractor, how do I make it easy? Like if you're going to pay the contractor $1,000, they get $250 in liquidated damages. So dealing with the ramifications of you terminating an event on the contractor needs to be addressed as well. Otherwise, depending on how your contract works, you could be in breach of contract with the contractor and they could come back to you and get the full value of the contract. So the wording of when they want to quit on you and the wording of when you want to quit on them is super, super important. These are issues that you really want to address in your contract with your independent contractor. And aside from the other things. So if you didn't watch the other video, it was a couple weeks ago, 4 or 5 things that you need in your independent contractor agreement. I highly recommend that you check that out as well. But as I was filming that video, I wanted to kind of go in more into depth with this instance and talk about these couple of issues. But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed the content of this video. This is going to be a short one, and I'm on the road. So anyway, new videos just like this every week. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to leave a comment. And with that, folks, we'll see you next week, hopefully.